Okay, welcome to Cine Talkies, and today I'm really happy to be featuring one of South Africa's most talented singers, and she's none other than Vandana Naran. Welcome to Cine Talkies.
Thank you so much, Riaz, for having us.
Vandana, it's such a pleasure to have you on Cine Talkies. Let's start off. You've done amazingly well. We all know how well you've done, where you are today. If you were to step back and think about how it all started for you, would you indulge us in that?
Sure. So I think for me, it really goes, a few generations back
Yes.
into our family. And I always like to share this because I think it speaks so much to our musical heritage that we have, in running across, our family and through generations. So I think, for us, it really started with my grandfather, who we recently found out used to be the conductor of an orchestra in Pietermaritzburg in the 1950s. And it was called the Golden Lily Orchestra. So we really did we went into the archives on Google, the Google
Wow.
archives, and we found a pamphlet of an old show that he was having at the time, and it was called Voices of India, if I'm not mistaken. And he was the conductor of that orchestra. He had singers on that show, so it was really nice to see that it went back a couple of generations as well. My uncle, my mom's so that was my mom's dad, and then my mom's brother also sings. My mom used to sing, and she used to take part in a lot of community events during her when she was younger. She used to also live in Pietermaritzburg at the time. My grandmother used to sing as well. More recently, we found out that my auntie, my mom's elder sister, writes lyrics as well. So, that's another part of the family that we
Multi-talented.
didn't know about. Yes, very multi-talented. And then, obviously, my dad's side of the family, my dad used to be a tabla player when he was younger. Not many people know that, but he used to play tabla back in the day. He is very fond of classical music. So I think on both sides of the family, music is quite a passion for all of us.
Amazing.
When For me, it really started, when I was much younger. We were actually watching a few of our preschool videos the other day, and having a bit of a giggle because, I used to take part in our open days in preschool. I used to be a part of the choir, talent shows. So music was always a part of my life. And then I think closer to our teens, my dad recognized that we had this talent, and we relocated to the United States in 2001. And both my sister and I went for classical Hindustani classical music lessons. So we really did train in music for about 4.5 years. So he recognized the talent. He really wanted us to, get better at it. He wanted us to groom the talent that we had. So, so when we came back then to South Africa in 2005, I entered a Star Search competition, and I won that competition, and that was the
Wow.
beginning of my career. I had a number of nationwide interviews. We did a few cover versions, and then I think it was just public performances from then, and more recently we started doing our own original music. So for me, that's really where it
So it's
started.
been a long journey, lots of memories.
Very
Um,
lots of.
there's a couple of things I like to touch on firstly. When you were at preschool, like you said, you were having a look at some of your videos and at school. When was that moment when you felt, I am capable, I'm confident, I can do this? Do you remember? Was it a certain performance, or what did you do where you felt, no, this is for me?
I think it's such an interesting and such a lovely question, because I think as an artist, you never really know when you're ready. I think that learning journey is always, it's such a continuous thing.
Yes.
I think for me, I felt I had the talent and I was able to do it when we really started learning music together, because that is when your teacher sits in front of you. He really encourages you. He's able to also identify what you're good at, play on those strengths and help you to develop on that. But I think, just generally, I think it's, you never know when you're ready as an artist. I think you'll always be a student for life. I think for me, that is the biggest thing that I keep at the back of my head when I'm learning a song, or, when I'm preparing for a performance or whatever it might be. You're always a student.
That's a very good point. In fact, I remember I interviewed Lata Mangeshkar about 2 years ago. You do know she's my favorite singer. And in there, I asked her, "You are the best." She says, "No, I've done nothing." And I was like, wow. She says, there are so many better artists than me. And the fact that you even spoke about the classical music, when I asked her, what would you tell younger singers and upcoming singers? She says, learn classical music, because that's your foundation for all that. And it's a very interesting point that you brought up. When you were learning classical music in the US, what was it like?
So it was very new for us, I think, because, when I was younger, I think for me, it was always about Bollywood music. We grew up listening to Bollywood music. We grew up watching Bollywood movies. So that's all I knew. That's all you knew. We used to also sing a lot of bhajans when we were younger. We have a few videos of us doing, a couple of Gujarati bhajans as well. So a lot of devotional music as well. So I think for us, it was quite a journey. It was something very new. My dad obviously has a lot of knowledge and background in classical music. So for him, it was a lot easier to, understand. He understands the concepts. He understands the art. So I think for us, it was very new, to grapple with concepts like ragas and tals and all sorts of things. I think it's very new. I think especially for someone who doesn't come from that background. So I think it really opened up our eyes to the ocean of music that is out there. Because I think, like I said, you're so used to Bollywood, and and you think that is the be all and the end all, and it really isn't. I think there's a whole, sea of music out there, and I think that is the biggest, that is what I really appreciate from the fact that my dad actually sent us to classes, because I think that also helped Jagruthi, my sister, to really become creative with her music and compose what she did, for what we've released recently. So it was very new, but as you start to grasp the concepts and you really start to understand it, there is so much that you can do with classical music.
Let's bring in Jagruthi there. She's been patiently listening to our stories there. Why don't you introduce your sister to us? I mean, you know her better than any of us.
So this is my amazingly talented sister, Jagruthi. I don't know what I will do without her. I think, we're best friends in every sense of the word, even when it comes to music as well. We complete opposites, which is why we complement each other very, very well. So this is my sister, Jagruthi, and she has been very instrumental in creating the music for a lot of the original music that we have been releasing recently.
Fantastic. Jagruthi, welcome to Cine Talkies.
Thank you so much for having us.
Jagruthi, tell us, your sister and you obviously were in the US, and she spoke about her experience. Tell us a bit more about yourself and how you got into composition. When did you realize you're not a singer and you're rather a composer? Perhaps that'd be a more interesting question.
So when we trained overseas, we both learned how to play harmonium and keyboard, and we both had vocal training as well. Yeah. And I think it was when we came back to South Africa that we sort of both found our niche, and Vandana continued with the vocals, and it was just something that I wasn't really interested in. So when I think it was actually more recently that we started composing our own original music, and that's when I realized that is something that I'm more passionate about. I never really was a vocalist, but one of the important things when learning classical music is learning how to sing and how to play an instrument. It just, it helps lay the foundation for understanding, Indian classical music. So I think, it was probably 3-4 years ago when we released our first original song. And that's sort of when, I realized that is something that I really like doing, and I'd like to continue doing. And since then, we've sort of just kept going with it and producing whatever comes our way.
So just tell us what exactly goes through your mind when composing a song. So now you and Vandana decide you want to work on an album. How does it all begin? Do you first get the lyrics? I'm just trying to understand, or do you first establish the tune and then write the lyrics? Everyone has a different way of doing things. Some people get the lyrics to the beat, and there's different ways. How do you work, and where do you source your inspiration from?
So it happens actually both ways. So there's been instances where we've had lyrics first, and then we create the music for those lyrics. And then there's also been instances where a tune will just come into my mind, and then we fit the lyrics to that. So it really depends, and it's like you said, it's really all about inspiration. So it really depends how I feel in the moment. So specifically with the recent release we've done on the album, we had the lyrics first, and when I took those lyrics, I just used to sit behind the keyboard, and it's very difficult to explain, and the melodies would just come. So it really depends how what I'm feeling in the moment, and where my emotions are at that point in time. So that's really how the music really gets created. It's often an iterative process. So we start with a basic tune, and then go back and refine it more and more. And it's between Vandana and I where we go back and forth a few times, and eventually are able to come up with a composition.
I guess the thing that I find, also having enjoyed Bollywood music, and that what stands out for me is the melody above everything else, and that's important, especially these days. If you listen to songs, everyone likes it, and everyone has their own opinions about the music we get to listen to, etc. And it's fine. It's momentarily. You'll enjoy it for a couple of weeks, and after that, when you play Antakshari, that's when we find out what the real music stands out. And most of the songs you'll sing in Antakshari will end up being older songs. So Vandana, you're also working full time, and then doing this something which I do as well, my passion on the side. It's the side hustle. So how do you basically manage to balance your work life and your creative life?
So I think my sister is working full time as well, and I've seen through this recent project that we've been working on that the amount of time and effort that it actually takes, to put an album together. I think it was a sort of year-long journey that we were on to put this album together. So it is a full-time job on its own. But I think at the end of the day, you will always make time for things that you love to do. So it's really not about balancing. It's all about, integrating, different aspects of your life, making sure that you make time for the things that you love to do.
That's a very important thing. I always joke with people, because I also come from the corporate world, and when they ask me, "Don't you play golf?" Well, I said, "This is my golf on the weekend. This is what I'm doing." So that's what I enjoy, and you have to. I guess sometimes, these days, especially with COVID and that, there's so many people suffering from mental health issues, etc. They're thinking of what's going to happen in the future, etc. And I always tell people, if you're into the creative field, create something, do something, and that just keeps your mind busy as well. So thank you for that. That's quite an honest answer. Do what you like and make time for what you like. Very, very nice indeed. Now, in the South African context, we have a lot of people doing a lot of cover versions, and everyone does this. It happens here, it happens overseas. Bollywood itself is rehashing all the 90s songs at the moment as we speak. Why work on something original, which might work, might not work, people might like it, people might not? What was the inspiration behind doing something like this that was absolutely original?
So I'll go first, and then I'll ask Jagruthi to also give her view around that. I think, you reach a point in your career, and I think it's really great that everybody tries to do covers. I started that way as well. We all do covers. I think that's where you get your inspiration from, to really get into the field. I think you get to a point in your career, and especially as a vocalist, where you want to start creating your own identity, and you want to start, creating a niche for yourself, so that you're not associated with something that this entire commercial market is associated with. And I think for us, that is what we really wanted to do, is start to create our own identity. And not everybody will appeal to it, and that's okay. We do it for those who like that type of music and who appreciate that type of music. I think, every genre of music has its own audience. You've got even in the West, you've got those who love country music and those who love rock music and pop, and you've got an audience for everything. And I think it's the same thing here. Everybody, you will have your audience. So I think for us, it was really about just creating our own identity, starting to do something different that we wanted to share with others, and I think there's a whole spiritual aspect behind what we do and our music as well, and we really wanted to share that with the world, because I think the world is in a place where it needs that. It needs some positivity, it needs some upliftment, and what better way to do it than through music?
I must be honest with you. I'm so impressed with your answer, because it's good to do things you love doing, because at the end of the day, whoever's there to support you will support you, and there'll be people who say, no, that's not for me. Yeah, we'll move on. We've got the people that will like what we do and enjoy and appreciate. Yeah. And it mostly comes from outsiders, because, sometimes family people can, and friends, and whoever you might want to. We're not going to name them now, but I'm just saying, I've been through it, and I can understand and appreciate where you're coming from. Jagruthi, maybe on your side, why something original? And why something different?
I always tell Vandana, I have so much of fun during the production process. Yes. And it's at the end of the production process, we're already thinking about the next project. It's and I think it's just because we get so involved in doing it, and we just want to share that with everyone. It really is about that at the end of the day. So the joy and the all the inspiration and even the ups and downs that happen during the production process, it's all part of the journey. And I think it's so important for us that we're able to share that with people, and if they appreciate that when they listen to the music, then that is an absolute benefit and a bonus to us. But we have a lot of fun when we do these music projects together, and it means a lot to us to be able to share that with a wider audience.
Now, there has to be a point where the two of you might not agree on something. How do you work through that? Because, I guess that expression says it all. So if there's something you think that's good, and Vandana says, no, I don't think this is going to work, how do you then decide, okay, let's do what's best for the album?
You go first.
Yeah, so I think like Jagruthi says, that is part of the journey. I think we're not always going to agree, and I think we can also, Dan can also attest to that, because he's part of those arguments as well that we have, but they're constructive arguments. It's not like we're fighting or anything. They really are constructive arguments. I think everybody has so much to offer, in this house. And I think at the end of the day, I'll share, what I want with Jagruthi, and if she can translate it, that's great. If she finds that it doesn't make any sense, then she'll let me know. And I think that's how we sort of work through it. Like she said, it's an iterative process. So it really doesn't happen at one go with one song. It's something that we're constantly working on, and we're trying to change. And yes, we do have, a few disagreements around things, but at the end of the day, like you said, it's about what's best for the album, and I think that's what we agree on at the end of the day. So
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Because you can agree to disagree, and you know
Yes,
there
yes.
are times when you say I think this is good, and you think that's good, and then say okay, what's best for them? Because I guess that's just the healthy part of growing as well. Because then everyone's contribution is appreciated, and you have healthy discussions. Well done. I think that was handled very well from your side in terms of how you deal with that. Um, Vandana, if you look at your career as a singer, what's been the best highlight for you? Be it the performance or something that you've done that if you look back in a couple of years and you have to tell your kids and family about this, you're going to say, that was it for me. I just went there and I knew that was my moment. I know there must be quite a few of those, but something that really sticks out for you.
I think for me, I think it was something that happened recently, and I like to share this because it really meant a lot to us, just as students of our teacher. He actually phoned us, my teacher in the US, I think about 2 or 3 months ago, to say that he follows our stuff on YouTube and that he's so proud of where we've come, because he's the one that really started, this journey of teaching us music and taking it further for us. And he actually gave us a call the other day to tell us how proud he is of us, and that he uses some of our music as examples to his students. For me, that said it all. I mean, what more do you want than motivation and inspiration from your own teacher? I think for me that was such a big, and to think that I've been involved in music so much. I think it's been 15 years since I've been doing this professionally, and for me it was just that small call of appreciation that did it for me. It really says a lot. I think it really said a lot about him as a teacher, and it really also said a lot about how passionate we are about music as well. So I think that is something that really stood out for me. And I have to share another one as well. I think is when we really started to create our own original music. I think for me that has been extremely rewarding. I think to like I said, have something where you can show your own identity, and I think it's absolutely rewarding.
It's a long path, and yes, we've all been down there, and it's a lot of hard work. And I appreciate the fact that you're very positive about this, because lots of time people create things and then say, "Oh, it hasn't hit the #1 spot, and it hasn't started trending and all that." It's not about that, because timeless music will be there for generations to come that will pick it up and say, "Wow, this is something amazing." So well done to you for not getting caught up in that bubble of things that will eventually burst. And the question that I'd like to ask you about your album that you're working on currently, that's released currently. Tell us a bit more about that. What exactly is this album about? Of course, we spoke about the creative process you guys been involved in, but what's the album about? And to people now watching this as well, if you could just give them a bit of a heads up there in terms of what the album's all about.
So this journey started about a year ago. It was actually my aunt that she was writing lyrics for a couple of years in So Gujarati bhajans, in the tunes of existing movie songs and existing bhajan tunes, and she actually wanted to share that with everyone. And so she started sending us some of those lyrics, and we decided that we were going to redo the music into some original melodies rather than using existing tunes. And that's actually how the process started. So we started going through all the lyrics, and we started putting music to that. And that is really where this album actually was born. Last year, we released a music video for one of the lyrics that she wrote. It was a Gujarati, it was a Garba. And that was the first song of the album that was released publicly. And after that, we just continue to put the music together for the rest of the songs that are on the album. And that's really how the album was born. And it's a compilation of Krishna bhajans. So that's why the album is called Kanha. And Kanha is also it's the home of the largest meditation hall in Hyderabad. So that's also why we chose the name Kanha, a celebration of divinity, as the name of the album. And like I mentioned, it was really just a year's process, creative process, and a lot of iterations of back and forth. And it was finally born, about a month ago, I think. So.
Wow. Well, Vandana, what's the reception been like from people that have heard this? You must have got feedback. What was it like?
So I think so far the feedback has been extremely positive and really, really encouraging. I think we've had also a lot of young people and a lot of the youth listening to the bhajans. And I think for us, that's very inspiring. Just because we're young as well, and to be able to reach out to a younger audience doing devotional music, I think is something that's quite important in this day and age. So I think so far the feedback has been really great around the music, around the composition as well as the lyrics. I think that has been instrumental in the production of the CD as well. So.
How about sharing a couple of lines with us from the album of your favorite?
Okay, so sure. Okay, so I'll sing one of my favorites on the album, which is number 6. It's quite an upbeat one, but please do get it and listen to songs. श्यामना नामनी धूम मचाओ श्यामना नामनी धूम मचाओ बिना रंग रंगाई जाओ धूम मचाओ धूम मचाओ धूम मचाओ धूम मचाओ धूम मचाओ.
Wow, that's absolutely brilliant. And you were not going to get away without singing for us. Eh?
No, not with you, Riaz.
So we really appreciate it. Now, the best part of the creative process is once you finish with one album, then thinking what next. And there's so many ideas that when you work in the creative field, like, okay, I've done this, maybe I should do this. What other ideas are bubbling under that you'd like to share with us and say, okay, maybe that might be something we might work on going forward?
So I think we want to do something a little bit more contemporary now. I think over the past year and a half, we've been releasing a bit of devotional music. So we want to do something a bit more contemporary. We do have a few things up our sleeves, so we will be definitely working on that. I've also been grappling a little bit with ghazals and stuff, so hopefully we'll be able to do something more covers, but it's something completely different to what I'm usually used to doing in terms of the commercial side of music. So hopefully we'll be able to do something a little bit more along those lines soon. So we do have a few things we want to work on. And it will take a bit of time, but hopefully we'll get them released soon.
Now, just before we move on, your album's available on which platforms?
So it is available on CD. We did print a number of CDs as well. So if people want the actual physical copy, they can get it. Otherwise, it's available on all digital and streaming platforms. You can find it anywhere: iTunes, Shazam, Deezer, Spotify, any of those platforms. You can find them on.
Fantastic. Now, of course, COVID's almost changed what the entertainment industry is doing. I mean, if it weren't for COVID, we wouldn't be chatting like this. It would have been a face-to-face discussion. But here we are chatting online, especially for the entertainment industry. Things have changed a lot. what are some of the challenges as a performer? I mean, obviously you don't do it as a full-time thing, but what are some of the challenges that you've had during this COVID period, and how have you adapted in terms of working around that?
So I think the biggest challenge is having that face-to-face interaction with your audience. I think, being a vocalist, that's what you want. You want to be able to engage with them. You want to be able to, feel the
And
live
energy, yeah.
Yes, the energy and the vibe and feel the live music. Absolutely. And I think that has been sort of the biggest challenge, of just being a vocalist. We've been doing a few events online and record through some pre-recorded events, and some have been live as well. And I think, through that, you're able to engage with your audience through the chat functions. And, I think technology has given it all to us. But it still really doesn't give you that, that interaction that you want as an artist, with your audience. So I think that is the one where you sort of maneuvered around that challenge in particular, is really around the online events and participating from that perspective. So I think I think for me that has been the biggest challenge as a vocalist is not having that interaction.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it's also, like you said, created other platforms for us to chat and all that, which makes it much more interesting. But yeah, I guess, I mean, if you're a comedian, it's got to be really crap, isn't it? Imagine standing there and telling yourself jokes, not knowing if you're funny or not. So I guess it has its challenges. The question that I'd really like to possibly close off this interview with today, you spoke about the youth and how they've been enjoying your albums. If there are people that would like to follow a career in music, what would your advice be as a singer, as a composer? So you could start off and tell us, this is what you should possibly do, or this is where you should start off. So if you were to give some advice to people that are interested in following a career in music.
So, for me, the biggest lesson is really around learning music. So I think if you want to pursue a career in music, make sure that you learn music. I think that is key. I think at the end of the day, we all are given talents. God gives us talents where we're able to do things. But I think it's our responsibility, and it's, we have to take accountability for making sure that we do the best with what he's given us, and what talent he's given us. So that's why it's really important that you groom it and that you become good at it. And that doesn't really only go for singing. It goes for anything. Dancing, if you want to become a chef, if you want to become an artist, if you want to become, anything requires studying, anything requires learning, anything requires understanding technique, understanding and practicing as well. I think for me that's so important, and that's what really helped me to get where I am today from in terms of my music. And the other thing is, stay humble, keep your feet on the ground, and I think by learning music, you will always have your feet on the ground when you learn music, because like I said, you will be a lifelong student, because the moment I think you start thinking that everything is the day that that is your biggest downfall as a musician or in any craft. I think you have to keep yourself humble. You have to keep yourself as a student for the rest of your life, and I think you'll go very, very far. I think if you look at we were just having a conversation this morning during breakfast with my parents, and I think if you look at some of the biggest singers out there, if you think about Bollywood, Udit Narayan is one of the singers that I admire the most, just because of his humility, and you can hear it, through his singing. So as much as you have training and you get you understand the technique, you need to be able to have humility, because this is one of those industries where you can rise very quickly and then fall very fast as well. So it's very important for you to keep your feet on the ground, and just keep learning. I think that is so important.
Okay, the point I took out from there, Riyaz is most important.
Yes,
Music
Riyadh is
practice.
very important.
Over to you, Jagruthi.
So yeah, I think Vandana summed it up very nicely. I think having that foundation in music is really important, because then you can apply it to anything that you're doing. We always joke about it that we're whenever we're working on a project, we're always trying to outdo our previous project, and that's how we've always been. So it's always just about improving on what we've done.
Your own competitor, yeah.
Yeah, it's just it helps us to always make sure that we're improving. And one thing that my dad always tells us to do is listen to good music, because you learn a lot just by listening. And I think there's a lot of commercial music out there, and you've just got to separate a little bit of the noise from what's actually music that you can learn from. And that's something that we try to do. We listen to good music, and I think the other piece of advice I can give the audience is that don't give up. It's very easy to become demotivated and despondent if you don't get the views or the likes. And unfortunately, social media has sort of changed everyone's mindset. I think it's important to understand why you're doing it, and to always remember that and in our case, we just love doing it, and we love sharing that with the audience. And if the audience appreciates that, then that's an even bigger bonus for us. So.
And it's, my point about the stuff being online, it's always going to be available. It's there. Whether 100,000 people watch it this year, this minute, or in next 5 years or so, they can eventually come across it, and it's there on the platform. Vandana, we're going to ask you again. I'm gonna ask you to sing a few lines for us. Maybe one of your favorites, and then maybe I'll ask you to sing something for us. And then we're gonna end off. I promise it's not gonna be too torturous.
That's fine. So I know this is one of your favorites, and I'm gonna be singing it soon. Okay. Can I do a few of this? This is one of my favorites, and I've been learning it recently of Lata Jesus as well. So just give a bit of a snippet to everyone. अगर मुझे से मोहब्बत है, मुझे सब अपने गम दे दो, इन आँखों का हर एक आंसू मुझे मेरी सनम दे दो, अगर मुझसे मोहब्बत है.
Wow, that was the magic of Madan Mohan and Latha. Absolutely. Timeless songs. When I think about Madan Mohan, and that's a classic example, the man died at a young age. He was such a genius. I mean, his song Lagja Gale till today is appreciated, and I think it's the most done cover version around the world, but when he was alive, no one appreciated him. That's the irony of life sometimes, eh?
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. Thank you so much. I love that. Possibly just the last message to people watching you right now.
So I think, thank you so much to everyone out there who has supported us, in our career this far, and who have really made it possible for us to get to where we are today, and be able to do the type of music that we do. I think a big thanks to our parents as well for their unconditional love and their support. Through everything. They've always been there. They've always encouraged us to reach for the stars and to be better than, like Jagruthi said, who we are, better than who we are, who we were yesterday. So I think, a huge thank you to everyone who have been really instrumental in our music, who have been there to support us and encourage us to get to where we are. And thank you so much, Riyaz, for having us.
No problem. You're most welcome. You just brought a point which I forgot about, because I was trying not to write things down. We were going as the questions were coming along, because I think that makes the conversation more interesting. And I remember I thought I must ask this question, and obviously it slipped my mind. With regards to you, with both of you, your parents have been most supportive, and especially in Indian households, that doesn't really happen. Or is that changing a bit as we go along? Because I mean, I know wherever you guys go, your parents are there with you, they're advising you, they're supporting you, and that's an important aspect because that support structure has to be solid.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been fundamental in everything that we are today. Not just musically, but professionally as well. They've sacrificed so much for us. To really get to where we are, and the least we can do is make them proud, and take that legacy forward, not only for the youth out there, but for our kids. One day when we have our own families as well. I mean, these are the legacies and the values that we would like to impart to them. I think it is changing. I think especially being female, I think that is something that that my parents are very aware of, that being females in a professional environment, and also in an industry which is also quite male dominated, it becomes very difficult to make your mark as an artist or as a composer. So I think that is one of the reasons why they support us so much, is because they're encouraging us to be independent, to make that change, for other women out there as well, who want to pursue whether it's arts or whatever it might be. That I don't like to talk about glass ceilings, because I don't believe that they exist. But it's really about shattering all stereotypes out there, and I think that is what we do, and that is what they want to see us do. Which
yes, a big round of applause to them.
Absolutely.
You'd like to add anything to that, Jagruthi?
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree. It's they've always been there. I think from when we watched those childhood videos the other day, they were there in the background, guiding us, telling us what we should do, and always making sure that we do our best. And I think that's also very important. And they've never ever made us feel like we needed to do more. From our side, we just want to make them proud. So
yeah, no, absolutely. At the end of the day, that's all we want to do. I remember when I started, my mom was like, livid. What are you doing? What is this? And then over the years, when she saw me speaking as an MC and things like that, and she's like, oh, that's Riaz, and then there's a proud moment for them. So as they accept it, because at first, obviously, you're not following this normal societal norms. You have to do this and you have to do that. At the end of the day, I believe you have to live a life where you are fulfilled, and you also at the same time taking your family legacy forward, and that's most important. And I think parents appreciate that at the end of the day. So that's a very important lesson. Thank you, Vandana Jagruthi. It was so great chatting to you on Cine Talkies.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Riaz. Thank you so much. It was really great to chat to you after a while. It's been a while, but it was really.
We'll do a lot more of this as we grow and from strength to strength. And it also happens to be Cine Talkies' 10th birthday, but we're not going to give away all the other secrets. But at the moment, it's 10 years since we've been doing this. So thank you for being a part of this. And hopefully we can catch up with a lot of artists within the South African context as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Riaz.
Thank you.
It was really great chatting to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.